I would like to give you here another daily parts practice. And unlike the gratitude practice, this one does have a specific desired result, a specific outcome that you're looking for. And that is using this gentle practice as the path toward emotional regulation. First, I'll say that I'd like to invite you to consider the idea that any strong feeling or emotion is not coming from you, that it's coming from one of your parts. So typically, someone would say, I am angry. And some people you'll hear would ask you to consider saying, I am feeling anger, which is an improvement. But I'd like you to consider going one step further and say, I have a part that is feeling anger. I'm not angry. I'm not feeling anger. I have a part that is feeling anger. And even that simple distinction should cause a shift in the energy of the feeling or emotion that you're experiencing at that time. But that's just the beginning. What I'd like to have you do next is take a moment and you'll find your own words over time that make the most sense to you. But it'll go something like this. Hello. I'm speaking now to the part that is experiencing anger. Of course, you fill in whatever feeling or emotion you're talking about here, but we'll go with anger for now. Whatever part is experiencing anger. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for being here, for being a part of me, and for showing up. Because I know you're expressing this anger for a reason. And while I may not completely understand that reason right now, I know you have the best intentions for me, and you have in mind for me goodness. So I appreciate that. But at this point in my day, I have many things I'd like to accomplish. And this feeling of anger that you're expressing that is coming forth to me is manifesting in my life right now with thoughts and behaviors that are not the most helpful. And I'm wondering if you would consider just relaxing back for a moment and just releasing that feeling of anger that you're holding on to for a moment and just relaxing back so that I can consider everything else that needs to happen in my life today. And I can get back to work or play or family time or whatever it is that I need to accomplish. And if you would consider that, I would love to check back in with you this evening when the day has passed and I can sit in silence and quiet for a moment. And I'll check back in with you. And I'll have the time to sit with you. And you can tell me anything you would like about what you're feeling right now and why this feeling of anger has come up. Your intentions for me, what you'd like to express, anything you'd like to tell me. And so I'm asking now for a gentle bargain with you. If you would be willing to relax back, if I promise to check in later this evening and you can tell me anything you want, would that be okay with you? And that's the process. Now I realize I'm speaking very slowly, and that can seem like, wow, that's a lot for me to take in. But the truth is, the more you practice this, the faster it gets. And eventually you, with your parts, will develop a sort of shorthand. And with almost a download of sorts in one thought, they'll know what it is you're asking and you'll be able to get the response. But I would encourage you to take your time with it and don't expect the instant version. Another thing I would like you to consider is perhaps this takes 60 seconds, 2 minutes. And while that may seem like a long time, consider how long you would otherwise stay in this state of feeling the anger. And I would say it's probably very likely much longer than any amount of time this process may take. So I'd like to say a couple of things about this process and why I prefer it over other processes, such as any practice which encourages you to think of thoughts as objects that just come and go, that don't matter, objects that can be wrangled, that can be grabbed and pushed aside or ignored completely, because those processes ignore the fact that thoughts come from parts and feelings and emotions come from parts. And trying to grab an object like a word or a feeling and push it aside in an aggressive way ignores the fact that there's a part attached to it. So find this to be a much more gentle way to handle situations of intense emotion or feeling. This is also useful, by the way, for repetitive negative thoughts, because those are also coming from parts. And you can utilize this same process to substitute the thought for the feeling. For instance, I'm not good enough. You would substitute that for the feeling of anger that we spoke about earlier. But you would say essentially the same type of language. And then you would want to check in later. And this is a caveat I'd like to extend to you now. Whenever you make a promise to a part, it's very important that you keep that promise. This is an exchange. This is a gentle bargain. So when they say, yes, I agree to relax back in exchange for you checking in with me later this evening, it's very important that you actually check in with them that evening, as you said you would. Because if they keep their side of the bargain and you don't, what kind of relationship is that you've started? And often that will result in a rebellion of sorts. And oftentimes, when that thought or that feeling comes back, it will be at a higher intensity because they're still trying to get their message across to you. And you agreed to sit down and listen to it, and then you didn't. So now, from their point of view, they're going to have to be louder to get your attention. So it's very important that you hold up your end and have this follow up, this check in with them in the evening. And if you listen to the practice about gratitude, this is a good time to do it. If you've made an agreement with one of your parts, I would start with that. And when that process is complete, then I would gently move into your gratitude practice. And even if you combine these two, we're only talking about 10 minutes in the evening. And I invite you to take notes after you've checked in with the part. If they have something to express, they have something they want to tell you, just listen and gently keep track. And if this becomes a recurring thought pattern every day for an extended period of time, or a recurring part that continues with that same feeling or emotion over and over, this would be the time to work with a parts work guide someone who's experienced at navigating this, because this is exactly the type of heart that you would want to do work with to explore deeper the underlying reasonings behind their behavior, their thoughts, their emotions, what it is they're trying to express, their intentions behind that. This often becomes deeper work. But this is a very simple, easy way to strategically navigate intense feelings or emotions or overwhelming thoughts during the day. And at the same time, slowly begin the process of taking note of the different parts, getting to know the different parts of you, to begin to understand which ones might be good candidates to start working with if you should decide to work with someone. And I hope you find this practice useful.